Johnny Manziel's last shot. He knows that. One thing you can say about Manziel is that he lacks self-awareness. "I have exhausted all leeway and all second chances," Manziel told Sports Illustrated's Bruce Feldman after throwing at San Diego's Pro Day. "This isn't the second chance. This is the 35th chance. This is the last of the last chances to show people that I've made a drastic change in my life, and it's for the better and I'm happy with where I'm at." Manziel is saying all the right things. But that's not a new development by any means. He said all the right things before Cleveland took him with a first-round pick in 2014, only for Manziel to prove all of his critics right by sabotaging his Browns career before it even got started. By his own admission, Manziel's words don't carry much weight these days. "I can talk till I'm blue in the face about how I'm a different person, but until I get into an NFL building and I'm able to show that, it's all just talk. It's all just me saying that I'm different." Speculating whether or not Manziel is truly a changed man is a waste of time. We've seen athletes botch second opportunities and we've seen athletes make good on them. As Manziel said, "We won't know until he's thrust back into the lifestyle of a pro athlete and tested by all the trappings that come with it." There's another side of Manziel's comeback story that has taken a backseat to the behavior questions. It's not a given that he's even good enough of a quarterback to warrant a second chance at an NFL career. He didn't exactly set the league on fire during his short time in Cleveland. Manziel completed just 57% of his passes for an average of 6.5 yards per attempt and 7 touchdowns against 7 interceptions. So in addition to asking can Manziel stay clean off the field, we need to ask, can he actually play? To better answer that question, let's look back at his 2 years in Cleveland and figure out what Manziel needs to do to make it as a starting NFL quarterback. Johnny Manziel's rookie season could not have gone any worse than it did. He was way unprepared for life in the NFL, both on the field and off it. He finished the 2014 season with a passer rating of 42.0 and ended up checking himself into a rehab facility in the off-season. Manziel accurately described his rookie campaign as a disaster. The poor play was mostly Manziel's fault, something he's readily admitted in interviews. He didn't put in the hours required to play the quarterback position at a high level, and it showed on the field when he was prematurely handed the starting job late in the season with the Browns desperate to spark a playoff run. Joe Majorana, USA Today Sports Cleveland shares some of the blame, too. The Browns dropped him into a complex system with a quarterback in Brian Hoyer who, understandably, was more focused on winning a job than tutoring his replacement. Manziel was lost from the beginning and struggled to catch up. Via the Tomahawk podcast, whenever we got into OTAs and started doing team drills, and then Browns defensive coordinator Jimmy O'Neill and those guys were doing their 8DB fronts with Kyle Shanahan's offense and learning, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know when there's like 8 DBs walking around, and it's like Deshaun Gibson, Joe Hayden and these guys that are really good players in the back end, like Dante Whitner. These guys that are really established players are doing these crazy walk-around fronts and I hardly even know what two-jet protection does. I don't even know who this blocks." Manziel had no business seeing the field during that 2014 season. He had come from a college system that did not prepare him for the pros, and he wasn't doing himself any favors by not doing the extra work required of quarterbacks. Manziel reiterated just how lost he was early on a recent interview with Dan Patrick. "If Cleveland did any of their homework," Manziel said, "they would have known I wasn't a guy who came in every day and filmed. I wasn't a guy who really knew the X's and O's of football." Out of context, that tests like Manziel passing the blame onto the Browns for his failures, and a lot of people jumped on him for doing so after it made the rounds on Twitter. That wasn't completely fair. Manziel was actually criticizing himself for being naive enough to think that he can make it as a successful NFL quarterback based on his athletic gifts alone. The quote, "I see successful guys in the NFL, and what they do in the off-season, and the time that they put in that makes them good players. Yes, they're athletically gifted, but guys are good in the NFL, because they know film, they study hard, and they work even harder in the off-season. I didn't know that, and I feel like if Cleveland did any of their homework, draft a QB in the first round and put him into a toxic quarterback room versus what it was like my second year with McCown, completely different situation. It's all about the right fit, and mine in Cleveland wasn't right. That's just the facts. I also have nobody to blame but myself. https://t.co/fu/FMTG4 Johnny Manziel, and Manziel 2, April 4, 2018. Manziel never stood a chance. Not with his approach to the game and a coaching staff that A. didn't want him and B. didn't show him how to prepare like an NFL quarterback. Can blaze USA Today Sports. That changed in year 2. Hoyer left for Houston, and the Browns brought in Josh McCown, who instantly embraced his role as veteran mentor. Manziel credits McCown for doing what the previous Browns coaching staff, which had been fired after the 2014 season, and Hoyer did not care to do. Via the Tomahawk podcast, he's like, "Listen, I've been doing this for 15 years. I'm going to show what it's really like. Here's what time you need to be here. Here's what time we're going to Stage Hill. Here's what we're going to do whenever we get our breaks. We're not messing around playing Madden in the players' lounge. Let's get in here, and let me teach you some stuff." McCown was extremely instrumental in the player I became over a short stretch of time, but also where I feel like I have a blueprint moving forward, to where if I get back on a team, I'm doing what this guy told me to do because I know that it worked for me and it worked well. The work showed on the field. Manziel still made mistakes and there were plenty of flaws, but he looked like a quarterback capable of making it as a reliable NFL starter. Let's take a look at the film. What Manziel does well. Had the 2015 season been Manziel's rookie year, for all intents and purposes, it would have been considered a successful debut season. Compare the numbers he produced at age 23 to what Carson Wentz did as a 24-year-old rookie who had played in a pro-style offense in college. ProFootballReference.com. Of course, Manziel and Wentz are two completely different players. The Eagles' quarterback is bigger, stronger and miles ahead of Manziel, in terms of football IQ. But there are some similarities in their games, most notably, the ability to create when a play breaks down. When we last saw Manziel, his improvisational skills were his best asset. Some have said Manziel isn't athletic enough to make a difference as a scrambler at the NFL level, but there are plenty of examples of him making defenders look silly in the open field. Manziel is at his best when he's on the move, but his athleticism and creativity allow him to make off-platform throws that many quarterbacks wouldn't even try to make. While most passers would take a sack in this situation, Manziel throws a Jordan-esque fadeaway with a defender in his face, and creates a positive play. While he's a scrambler first and foremost, Manziel showed he was willing and able to go through progressions in the pocket, though he could stand to do it on a more consistent basis. Another encouraging sign, Manziel seemed to learn from his mistakes as the season wore on. Early on in 2015, he would stare down his intended receivers and rarely, if ever, use his eyes or pump fakes to move defenders out of passing lanes. That changed later in the season, when he started to do both more and more. You won't confuse Manziel's work in the pocket with that of a Drew Brees or Tom Brady, but it was more than you'd expect from a scrambler out of an air raid system, and his play in the pocket was a big improvement over what we saw during his lost rookie season. Given his playmaking ability, Manziel doesn't need to develop into pocket master in order to be successful. If he can just get to a point where he can be an average pocket passer, he'd be a pro bowler in the right systems with good pieces around him. But before that can happen, he has a lot of things to clean up. What Manziel needs to do better. This might take a while. Let's start with going through progressions, which is a vital skill for NFL quarterbacks because pro defenses are so good at taking away first and second options. We mentioned in the previous section that Manziel is willing and able to go from one receiver to the next, which is a good skill to have. But going through progressions requires more than just looking at different receivers on a given play. It requires the quarterback's feet and eyes to be synchronized. Otherwise, a quarterback may be able to find a second or third option but not be in position to make an accurate throw. Manziel's feet often lagged behind his eyes. Sometimes, he'd get away with it. More often than not, it led to poor throws and wasted opportunities. Manziel's footwork was an issue even when he didn't need to go past his first read. He wasn't comfortable timing his drops up with his receivers' routes, so you saw a lot of this. Making matters worse, Manziel did not do a good job of anticipating receivers getting open. so even when his feet were right, he could still be a beat late on throws or fail to get a throw off in time. Here the tight end wins on his route, but Manziel isn't ready to make the throw and needs to sack. He is to trust his receivers to get open before they do. He also needs to trust them to make plays and realize a quarterback should be a distributor first and playmaker second. Manziel will often pass up on gimme throws while hunting a bigger play. The best quarterbacks realize that every play does not have to be a big one. The one thing Manziel can't fix is his height, which is a clear impediment. He struggles to see over his line, so if there isn't a clear throwing window from the pocket, he'll try to escape to get a better view of the field. Here Manziel has his tight wide open but doesn't see him until he escapes the pocket. It's a positive result, but the process isn't ideal. And here's why that matters: same route concept, different result. The tight end is wide open again. Manziel doesn't see him, leaves the pocket and disaster ensues. In Manziel's reaction when he sees he had the tight end open all along. As a scrambler, Manziel is always going to take a lot of hits, so his ball security needs to improve drastically. He rarely keeps two hands on the ball when moving in the pocket or trying to escape it, which is the main reason why he fumbled 6 times in 6 starts. Lastly, Manziel's accuracy needs to be better. When everything is right, his speed, eyes, decision making, Manziel typical puts the ball where it needs to be. So if he's going to become a more precise passer, he'll need to clean up all the issues we've gone over. That's no small task. As you can see, Manziel is a very flawed passer. But that's to be expected from a 23-year-old quarterback and was still learning how to play the position at the pro level. He showed just enough to prove he's capable of not only making a return to the NFL but eventually developing into a productive starter if he gets hooked up with a good coaching staff. And who knows? Maybe Manziel has tightened things up while training during his sabbatical from the NFL. We'll get our first look at him in a football game this month when he plays in the Spring League, a developmental showcase event for NFL hopefuls. If Manziel has improved his footwork and grown more comfortable in the pocket, NFL teams will take